What's up with the rise of people like Nick Fluentes, Alex Jones, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Dave Smith, and other so-called extreme right-wingers? Well, it's very simple, because they're the only type of people who are actually getting anything done. And before someone says, oh, you're defending Nazis, let's be clear. I am not defending hatred or racism, okay? When the so-called extreme people are the only ones who are actually showing any type of courage or conviction, they become magnetic. Not because people love the label or love their most extreme views, but because they actually see movement. They see someone actually standing for something. You can't mock people for feeling politically homeless and then act shocked when they run towards the only group that looks like they're capable of any amount of change. Once I started paying attention, I have only seen one side openly call for violence, call for action, and anyone who supports them will post about this almost daily, expressing their opinion. They will be protesting in the streets. They are actually taking action, both violence and the better version, peaceful action. But they're at least taking action. And what do conservatives post? What do? They post memes about how bad things are. They don't organize. They don't protest. There's no real infrastructure of influence. You've got people who have been fighting the left for 20 years, whose biggest accomplishment is getting another podcast sponsor. The right talks like warriors, but they act like retirees. That is why I'm going to be honest. I'm very jealous of liberals because y'all actually do stuff. Y'all actually change the country. On the other hand, conservatives have been a bunch of nutless, lazy slobs who have somehow convinced the entirety of America who votes for them that sitting on your ass doing nothing is somehow deserving of getting reelected. Oh, but Kane, they have stopped all of these horrible things from happening. What do you mean they do nothing? The only thing a conservative does is slow down what liberals are able to get done. They don't go back and they don't undo. They do not do anything to actually benefit America. Tell me one conservative policy in the last 30 years that actually expanded freedom. It didn't just delay the decay. When is the last time they repealed a major piece of bureaucracy? When is the last time that they took on the surveillance state or the banking system or corporate monopolies? They don't. They manage the collapse just a little bit more politely. The Patriot Act, which basically gives the government the legal authority to spy on you, that's still in effect. That never got repealed. But Kane, if you have nothing to hide, why would you care? Guys, I might think that I'm very attractive, but that doesn't mean I want the entire world to see me naked. I still think we deserve a little bit of privacy. And again, this is giving more power over the people to the government, which rarely is ever a good thing. The NDAA indefinite detention clause. This was renewed by bipartisan support. What does this do? It gives the government legal authority to arrest you simply if they say you're a part of, affiliated with, or support certain terrorist organizations. And again, that sounds like a great thing. Well, of course, the government's not going to pass a law saying taking away your freedom law. Why would they do that? And again, it sounds great because, well, if there's terrorists in America, of course we want them out. If you're a terrorist in America, there's probably proof you're a terrorist. We have a justice system for a reason. Allowing the government to just scoop up people that with absolutely no proof of a crime or affiliation is insanely dangerous. Because here's the thing. If the United States government has to simply call you a terrorist, that is an extremely scary amount of power to give them. Am I trying to say that we were not able to catch any terrorists or anything like that? No. But what I am saying is giving the government the ability to use language, which we see today, means absolutely nothing. I mean, you can call someone whatever the crap you want to, and then people will believe it. That's not a safe thing for the government to be able to do. What about corporate bailouts? A lot of y'all remember 2008 crisis when you might have lost your job and you or your neighbor might have lost their house. And all of us were hoping and praying that we would just make it through. What ended up happening? The government used your taxpayer dollars that you are forced to pay at the threat of going to jail to literally give money to banks and private corporations because they did some dumb crap, lost all their money on bad stock market bets or bad lending practices. Now, guys, I am a full-time investor. If I make a mistake, there's no one to bail me out. So why does the government force us civilians to pay for the mistakes of giant corporations and banks? If they got that freaking big, shouldn't they have the responsibility to not make horrible financial decisions? All of us are held responsible for ourselves, but once you get big enough, or once you have donated enough, you can risk however much you want because you know the government will steal from its own citizens to pay for your mistakes.